Alright everybody, time to continue with part 3. First we have Yennev Merchant. This is one of the better merchants actually. First of all, Primal has a couple of nice situational cards that you can access with Merchant. Like for example counter spells that you might not want to put in your main deck, Crystallize and all that sort of stuff. Or Rain of Frogs and so on and so forth. So there are a couple of cool options for the market, and a 3 attack, 3 drop with Aegis is pretty decent in some decks. In Control, it provides a decent blocker that trades with most 2 and 3 drops, and at the same time is reliable as blocker because of the Aegis. And in mid-range or aggressive decks, it provides a nice Aegis threat against controlling decks that is particularly good carrier for weapons and stuff like that. So pretty decent card actually. It's just basically kind of not so great defensively because of the 2 health. And in limited, I mean a 3/2 for 3 with Aegis, it's not great, but it's decent, especially if you have a few nice market options. Next we have Lesrai Darkstalker, another limited only card, and even in limited, not very good. The fact that it's an elf doesn't do a whole lot. It's only a 4/4 for 1 turn cycle, really. Unless you have a lot of Nightfall, and you really don't want to have a lot of Nightfall, so yeah, I wouldn't want to put this in my draft deck or steel deck. Next we have Lesrai Secret Weaver. This is kind of cool. I think in Constructed it's going to be a bit too weak because it's 3 power 3/3. It's just too underpowered and the ability is too expensive. Paying 4 to discard a spell to draw 2 cards. Plus you would need to have enough spells, so you're likely more of a control deck. And in the control deck, you don't really want this, which is a bit unfortunate because all in all the card's kind of nice, but yeah, the ability is just too expensive and the body too weak. But in limited, this seems great. Next we have Rabbit Yeti. 3 power 2/2 killer, so basically a bad version of the times 3 drop with killer that also has scout, and also being a dinosaur is easier to buff and stronger than being a Yeti. There's not that many good ways to buff Yetis to make this more relevant, and not having scout is definitely a big downside on costing double primal. So yeah, not a constructed card even in a Yeti deck most likely, but in limited it could be okay, but not great probably still. Since it's usually gonna trade when you killer something unless you have a way to buff it. Next we have Temple Shihan. It's a pretty decent card. Inspire Flying is pretty good. On summon you get to play an inferiority complex, meaning you can make an opposing unit reckless. So it also has some offense utility by forcing their best blocker to attack. But yeah, all in all, the 3 power 3/3 is a bit weak in constructed, so it's probably outshined by too many better 3 drops in most decks, and falling short. Maybe there is like a Horu or Feln Unseen deck where this might make it in, because it's a solid Unseen, but without the Unseen synergies I think this will usually be outclassed. But in limited this is really great. Pick it up on site. Next we have Breeze Dancer, basically Round of Possibilities, the unit. Get a 4 power 2/4 flying, pretty decent, and on Inspire units get a random battle skill. So yeah, in Constructed this will most likely only be interesting as a redundant crown in like a Crown Roaches deck, but it might actually be pretty cool there. And outside of that I think it's a great limited card, but not really going to do anything in Constructed. Next we have Gale Prowler. It's a 4 power 3/1, clearly not a constructed card. When you play a spell, it gets +1/+1 and flying this turn. So yeah, I think even in limited this is not too great. If your deck is aggressive enough and has enough spells, this might be decent, because if it's a 4/2 flying most of the time, it's a pretty good 4-drop. But outside of that, it's really bad. Next we have Ice Bear Trucker, another Yeti, pretty bad one, 4 cost 1/3. When you play a spell, Ice Bear Trucker deals 1 damage to the enemy player. So yeah, this is a really bad and expensive body for a very marginal ability, and even in limited I wouldn't want this anywhere near my deck really. Next we have Resurface. This is basically a spell tutor for 4 power, non-fast. You get to put a spell of your choice from your deck on the top of your deck, and with warp it's free in terms of cards. But yeah, it's way too expensive. The fact that it's not fast makes it even worse, and the warp really doesn't make up for it. I think this card's unplayable in both formats really. Next we have Scavenging Spikeback. Another limited only card, but in limited is pretty nice. 4 power 3/3 Overwhelm is a bit underwhelming as a 4-drop, but with the tribute it's actually a pretty great 4-drop. So if you can force them to trade in combat on turn 4, which shouldn't be that hard to do a fair share of the time, then you get to drop a 4 power 5/5 Overwhelm, which is really, really good. So yeah, I'm fairly happy putting this in my proactive limited decks, I think. Next we have Spirit Award Shaman, another Inspire card, the 4 power 1/5. On Inspire, units you draw get Aegis, and at the start of your turn you gain an Aegis. So this potentially combines decently with the 2-drop Unseen, that is 5/5 as long as you have an Aegis. So this is a redundant source to enable this. The problem is this card's kind of aggressive and wants you to be proactive, and this card is quite the opposite. And it's also kind of slow. It gives you an Aegis on turn 5. And yeah, Inspire definitely gets worse the more expensive the card is that has it. So not too impressed with this. I don't think this will do a whole lot in Constructed, if anything. In Limited though, if a 1/5 for 4 is a good body for your deck, feel free to pick it up. It can do some powerful stuff late game for you. And as the last card for part 3, we have Eva, Eileen's Elite. As I already said when this card was spoiled, a 4/5 flying for 5 is decent, not a relevant unit type. Getting to draw 2 1/2 flyers for 1 with Tribute and with Infiltrate is pretty decent. Problem is Tribute is not that reliable set up, and the Infiltrate is kind of slow. Also the 1/2s are not put into play, so they cost you up to 4 power in total for all 4 of them. And yeah, there are probably just too many better 5-drops in Primal or the second faction that you're playing for this to make it, which is a bit unfortunate because it's not that bad. It's just a little worse than what we already have, I think. In Limited, however, this is a bomb, so pick on side. This is a powerful first pick that will easily win you games on its own. Okay, that's it for part 3, but we are not quite done yet, so don't go anywhere. Part 4, the final part of Primal, is coming up next. See you in a moment.